A couple of years ago, there was something that my husband and I were waiting on God for, and it seemed like it was taking forever. We had waited for this number of years, and it just seemed like it wasn't coming forth. We just were not getting this particular thing that we're waiting on God for. It was a really hard time. It was a very trying time. It was very emotional. But guess what? We didn't really have a choice. We just waited there on Him. And what I found out in that season is that waiting has its purpose and waiting comes in with processes. But the interesting thing I found about waiting is that it's really about the person that you become in the waiting time that really matters. It's not really the end result of the waiting, but it's the process, it's the person you become in that journey of waiting. At the point in time, I remember it came to a time whereby I just felt like, God, this is like too much. And I remember He kind of, well, it was a journey He was taking us on, almost like feeling like He was teaching us to trust Him. He was teaching us to believe Him. And then it got to a time whereby I felt like, you know what, even if we don't get this, we kind of got to a point whereby we actually said, even if we don't get this that we're trusting God for, it's fine. We're just going to keep waiting. And so we just began to enjoy our lives and just do life. And I found that it was in that period of waiting that God used to develop, take our roots downward in Him. He helped us to trust Him. We learned to trust Him when it was so hard and almost impossible to trust Him. And for me as a person, He helped me to develop myself. In that time of waiting on what we're waiting on Him for, that was when God began to use me to do things, to use me to add value to people's lives. I began to almost start off on a journey of purpose. It was when that was the time that I began to write my books. In those times that seemed like silent seasons, I find waiting time often feel like time when nothing is happening. But guess what? You're digging roots downwards. If you pay attention to it, if you're intentional about developing yourself during your waiting times, guess what? It might seem like a silent season, but roots are being developed downwards. And I found that it was in that time that I think I wrote about 3 books in that time that seemed like a silent season. It was in that time that I began to get to know who I was and the gift God has put on the inside of me. And so I want to encourage somebody listening. Do not waste your waiting season. My word for this week to be intentional about is the word waiting. Let your waiting time be a time of preparation for the more that God is bringing you into. Let your waiting time be a time of growth. Let your waiting time be a time of digging deep in God, in getting to know Him. Let it be a time of trusting Him. And as you're intentional about that, guess what? You will be amazed that you wouldn't even have to wait for as long as you thought you were going to, because the person you would have developed into will be even, it will bring forth even greater rewards than what you thought. Have an amazing week.